welcome to Gentle Yoga at Noon. We're here at the ACC Community Room. I'm Jeani, your host for the next hour, your guide. Happy New Year. If we didn't get to see you at the last week, it was a little bit just on spur of the moment change of location because we had so much storm, but I'm seeing nothing but sun, and so I'm hoping that's in your area as well, and hopefully we'll just have a smooth transition into the new year. So that being said, we are going to start at the back of the mat as usual. I'm going to suggest if you have issues reaching the floor when you fold, or if you just need a little bit of support as you're making your way down to the floor, have these blocks near you. You can always walk with them during our walking meditation and set them down where you need them. But you can also just do the walking meditation with the blocks in hand. So that being said, it's pretty much a class where we're focusing on warming up, making our major muscle groups and joint structures just get a little warmer with the walking meditation, and then we'll cultivate some of our standing poses and then cool down with a few poses down on the floor. Now you have the option, I have a chair in back of me, to use a chair if that's a little easier for you, but I suggest that you transition at some point as well, but we can do some of the poses from the chair just to give you an idea of what it's like to have a little support while you're transitioning. So that being said, we'll go ahead and meet at the back of the mat. And just as you're coming to class, you don't need to change the quality of your breath, but go ahead and just settle in. Feel the feet feel your feet on the mat. Notice how your legs feel. If this cold weather leaves you a little stiff in the morning, in the afternoon, as you begin your practice, know that just working through the movement will help you feel a little less stiff, just a little more lubricated at the joints. So that coming into mind, we'll begin by noticing a little more focused breath. Start by placing your left palm on your chest, right palm under the belly, and we'll notice how the air enters the nose and how the air exits the nose. And naturally, the breath rate will start to slow. When you first arrive, we're usually shallow breathing. So with this more focused look at the breath, we're looking for a longer, more controlled inhale and outhale. A slight pause in between. And cultivating that breath cycle, we'll find ourselves a little more relaxed and ready to finish with that Ujjayi breath, the ocean breath. Open up the back of the throat. Pause briefly as you exhale with that same openness at the back of the throat. And you may find yourself almost riding the waves of the ocean. All right, let's bring our hands down to the sides, lift the feet, rock from the toes to the heels. Just give yourself a little bit of awareness now at the feet. And we'll start setting our mountain. Inhaling, Generally feeling some energy from the feet, through the legs, the spine, neck, to the crown of the head, maybe even beyond. And then with that pause, we'll begin the exhale. Slowly exhaling, feeling that energy return through the body, to the feet, to the mat, to the earth. Feeling a little rooted, a little more rooted at the bottom of the exhale. Next inhale, we'll start to shift the center of gravity towards the toes, slowly, so that by the time you reach the edge, you should be done with your inhale. At the toe edge, we'll start to roll the center of gravity at the soles of the feet towards the heels with the next breath. And at the edge of that exhale, find that tipping point. So a couple more breath cycles, heel to toe, just so that you can identify the foundation. And then we'll meet at center, somewhere at the top of the arches, near to the heels. You can physically gently bend the knees as if you're resetting your mountain. Inhale, let's lift up, lengthening through the legs as is available. And as we continue to lengthen upwards, feel the crown of the head lifting towards the ceiling. And then we're going to exhale, roll the weight at the soles of the feet towards the right edge. Completely exhaled at that point, we can inhale back up to center. And then exhale to the other side. That's a 3-point breath. You can inhale to center or just from one side. And then exhale to the other side for a 2-part breath. Whichever works for you to get yourself acquainted with the horizontal mapping of the center of gravity. We'll meet once more at the center, right above the arches. Settle in, inhale once more, reset the mountain. Feeling just a little taller with each reiteration of mountain. We'll go ahead and feel that upward feeling at the crown of the head to help us start making small circles at about the ankles. See those circles, feel those circles, getting bigger, finding eventually the perimeter of your feet. When you identify the edge, we'll go ahead and start tightening in the circles to return home at the center, at the top of the arches, back in mountain. You can even imagine water going down a drain as we settle in to our mountain once more. Inhale, lifting upwards, energizing upwards through the crown of the head. Small circles once more in the opposite direction. Still radiating outwards at the ankles. And then moving towards the edge, the perimeter of the soles of the feet, until we meet once more at the center. Dropping back into your mountain. Go ahead and lift up a foot. Maybe lift the other. Just give yourself another resetting of your mountain. Hopefully you feel just a little more of that center and feeling just a bit more rooted as we return. We'll come on up to, after our ankle rolls, we'll start to bring some movement to our hips as well as our legs and maybe even shoulders. So just start to sway the weight, shift the weight from one foot to the other. And then see if you can widen the stance between the feet just slightly and bring in the heels just a little bit so that we're going to start pivoting the toes into the direction that we start to swivel towards. So as we start to move more towards one side, we might swivel more of the torso towards that area. And as we move to that side, we'll just pivot on to the heels and point the toes upwards. And as we do that, we'll find maybe a smooth transition, maybe a little choppy, but eventually what we're finding is not purposeful movement in the arms, but just that momentum of the shoulders, the torso swiveling from side to side, helping our arms to move. And if we have good flexibility in our torso, we might have the arms actually tapping the sides of our hips, our groin, our backside. Be sure to lift those toes so you don't torque out your knees. And then we'll let that energy peter out and slow down to return to mountain once more. Bring in your feet right under our hips. And see if you can feel a little more of the soles of your feet, finding that center with just a little more clarity. Bending the knees, inhale, let's press into those legs. See if we can tuck under the tailbone, lifting up just a little taller in our mountain. We may find ourselves lengthening through the legs and finding just a nice drop of the tailbone. Now we'll move up to the shoulders, palms facing forward. And with the next inhale, just start to draw the shoulders up. And then on the exhale, we're going to roll them back and then down. Imagine the triangles of your shoulder blades just melting down your back. Inhaling, up go the shoulders. Exhaling, back they go and down. Tucking in the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale. We're going for a total of 4 of these. 4 breath cycles. And hopefully by the end of that very last one, feel a little more space in those shoulders around the base of the neck. We'll go ahead with the second set. Inhaling, up go the shoulders, but this time we roll them forward and down, still tucking in the points in the mid-back, engaging the core at the bottom of the exhale. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, rolling forward, still melting down the back, engaging the core. Notice if anything changes at the feet. Try to maintain your balance and your stability at the foundation. And after your last one, we'll go ahead and lift the feet 1 foot at a time. Just give yourself a reset once more, sometimes a gentle bend of the knees. It's just to release any still activated muscles from the former pose. So next we'll be moving on to opening up the throat, our very last warm-up. And as we inhale, growing a little taller, finding an imaginary string, pulling us up at the crown of the head. Gentle tuck of the chin. So all we have to do is exhale. Let the right ear just slip towards the right shoulder until it stops. We should have about a tennis ball sized space between our right earlobe and the shoulder. Inhaling, we find length. Exhaling, go ahead and turn the gaze if you haven't already. Exhale to find a little more release. And let the bottom of the exhale find an engaged core to help you keep your upright position, lengthening through the legs. And as we do a total of 4 breath cycles, finding hopefully release in the left side of our neck, see if you can land the eyes in the rightmost of your vision, maybe even behind your right shoulder. And after that last exhale, we'll go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, and the crown of the head lifts all the way up towards the ceiling. So all you have to do is exhale towards the left shoulder. Inhaling for length, exhaling for release. Turn the gaze. 3 more breath cycles, nice and deep, facilitated by the ocean breath if you can. And see if you can just lay the eyes in the leftmost of your periphery by that last exhale. Then we'll inhale the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head all the way back up. So all we have to do is float the eyes with a gentle exhale towards the top of the mat. Find the space, once more, about tennis ball size. We're not resting our chin on our chest. We're giving ourselves a lot of space, but yet when we inhale, feeling that length in the neck, maybe a slight tilt of the crown of the head towards the ceiling. And the shoulders should be nice and in line with one another. Length all the way up to your sternum, if you can think of that. Then exhale, release any tightness that you can find in your body. Feel your rootedness in the feet, in the legs, in the body. With the next inhale, or the last exhale, we'll inhale the eyes upwards towards the midline, past the midline, and then looking somewhat above us. Stop craning the neck, and keep that chest lifted with each inhale. And see if you can feel a little more rooted with the exhale. Opening the mouth. And if you start to get dizzy at all, you can always lower the gaze. But what we're hoping to do is just keep that openness in the throat, maybe a small O to a larger O with the mouth, maybe a gentle sway of the lower jaw, just to find release in the face, in the neck, the jawline. And after your very last inhale, we'll go ahead and exhale. Let the eyes float back towards the midline, and you're back in your home base of mountain. We'll go ahead and shake out any residual tension left in the arms, wrists, legs. Lift up a foot, see if you're sticking to your mat. And then we'll start our folds. Our first one, before we start our walking meditation, is pretty lengthy, so we're going to hang out for about 5 breath cycles. Start with this sensation of reaching with your fingers. So the arms are pointed downwards, reaching with the fingers. It's actively reaching. We're going to inhale. As we're still reaching, we're extending the arms outward, lifting them upwards. And if we can have them up towards the ceiling, see if you can lift up through the chest at the top of the inhale. And then exhale, engage the core, start to stick the tailbone back. Try to keep a straight back, somewhere halfway down. You can always walk the hands down. You can also just let the back float. And just feel yourself as you're hinging at the hips, maybe even the knees have a gentle bend to them. You're just letting the body unfold with the help of gravity. So giving yourselves just that 5 breath cycle time. Just notice how it feels. You want to feel that good hip to heel support. Maybe the toes and the balls of the feet just give you that little bit of balance to keep that center right about the top of the arches. A deep bend if you're finding tightness in the back of the legs, but we eventually want to lengthen if possible. See if you can find that internal rotation of the thighs. You're pressing down at the balls of the feet, feeling that support. And of course, from the tailbone to the crown of the head, we're just trying to release the best that we can. If your arms are nice and relaxed, they may be hanging like noodles. You might have your blocks in hand so that you can use gently those blocks underneath as a kind of gentle support. We don't want to press into these blocks. They're just there to help us to engage our core and find a little bit of support in case we need that. And the more you inhale deeply, exhale slowly, find that shift, that support from the hips to the heels. You can always, if you notice that you're hanging onto your head, gently sway the head from left to right, forward and back. Maybe a gentle yes and no movement. And you might have your forearms on the thighs. Wherever you are, you're hopefully at the end of the 5 breaths really relaxed as best that you can in the upper torso area while the bottom, hips to the heels are supporting you. We're going to roll out of our first lengthy fold carefully. So start to engage your core. Feel like you're pressing into your feet. You're engaging your bum, your thighs. You're engaging your core. So all you have to do is slowly with the inhale, walk the hands up if you need. But we're inhaling 1 vertebra at a time, all the way back up. And the tailbone, as we're past that halfway point, starts to tuck under. And imagine your legs just lengthening, lifting you upwards. And the last thing to stack on the neck should be the head, palms facing forward, lengthening through the legs as is available. Keep that bend if it feels better for you, but eventually we're trying to find length in the legs as if the hips are over the knees, which are over the ankles, and eventually all our major joints will be just stacked one on top of the other. Let's go ahead and prepare for our second fold. Go ahead and reset your mountain if you need to. Lift up a foot. And settling back in, feeling like you have all points of your soles of the feet flat on the floor, supporting the body with just a little more towards the heels, towards the top of the mat, towards the top of the ankles. Let's go ahead and reach downward and inhale. Extend the arms, engage the core, and at the top, see if you can lift up just a little bit more with the sternum. And then we're going to engage the core, still feel nice and firm, and start to hinge at the hips. Stick the tailbone back if you need to, and come on down for another fold. Float on down, walk the hands down if you need halfway, but eventually come on down for a second fold. This time, it's only about 3 breath cycles, but notice how it feels. See if you're able to bend one knee, and then lengthen. Bend the other knee, and lengthen. Notice if you're able to gently just find a little more movement in the hips, in the knees. You can shift the hips from side to side. You can bend the knees slightly and then lengthen a little more and find that space. With the blocks here, you could always give yourself a little bit of support, but try to keep as much of the support in your backside down to your heels. And you can engage the core to help you feel that engagement. And then we'll come up another time, either with a slow roll-up, if that's what you prefer, or you can come up with a straight back. Either way, on the inhale, we're engaging our core. Press into the feet, firm up the legs, engage the glutes, and come on up, your choice. If it's a straight back, you can bring the hands together. And somewhere halfway up, remember, extend through the legs and lift yourself up with the help of your legs, your glutes, as well as the core. Reaching all the way up, and then exhale, hands down, heart center. Relax shoulders, relax the elbows at the rib cage. Let's go ahead and start bringing standing weight to one leg. You can keep a gentle bend to it, but you want to find that standing weight so that you can inhale, lift the right heel, if you can lift the right foot, and then exhale it down. You can go from the heel or the mid foot, ball of foot, and toes down. Fully exhaled there and finding balance before you lift the left foot and exhale that left foot down. So it's 1 full breath cycle per step. And take your time as you're finding your balance. If you fall out, that's okay. Come on back when you're able to. But engaging the core, pressing into the palms if you need to. Inhaling the left foot up. Exhaling it down. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in mountain. Looking down at the fingertips, press into the palms, inhale, watch the fingertips rise. And at the top, we'll separate the palms, engage the core, lengthen through the upper body and from the hips down for your support and hinge at the hips. Fold. Come on down, float down, walk down. Maybe you have the blocks in your hands. Then go ahead and for your third fold this time, go ahead and relax, fully exhaled here. Now we're going to inhale. Press into wherever your hands are. Maybe they're the shins, maybe they're the thighs, maybe they're the blocks, maybe they're the feet. But we're going to lengthen through the back as best we can. We're trying for a 90-degree angle at the hips, but we might have a 45-degree angle. That's okay. We're just trying to lengthen. If you can lengthen through the legs, do so. If it's too much, don't worry about that. Keep that bend. And as we inhale fully here, then we're going to exhale and prepare to walk into our high plank. So you can bend the knees. If you have your blocks, you can hang on to those as we start to bring our hands near to the feet. And then we're going to start to step one foot and then another foot. And we walk all the way back until we're in our high plank here. We're going to inhale, shoulders over the wrists for a moment, and then bring the knees down. Bring the shins, the tops of the feet, and allow those parts of your legs to support the bottom half, while the upper half of the body has the support of the shoulders over the wrists. If that's too much of an angle, you can always tuck the toes and bring the shoulders a little back behind you. But we want our fingers splayed, index and middle fingers up towards the top of the mat, and engage your belly button. Make sure it's sticking to the spine, engaged core. And here, we're just trying to find support from the shins all the way to the crown of the head in that diagonal. And then one more inhale. Let's tuck our toes. We're going to lift the knees and press the hips back to our down dog. And I have my blocks in the way, so I'm going to move those. But in your down dog, we're here for a while. Keep a bend to the knees if it is easier for you. You don't have to have the heels touching the floor. But we want to make sure our ears are somewhere at our upper arms if possible. And roll your eyes if you'd like to look at your hands, but try not to crane the neck. And eventually what we're doing here is just lengthening, pressing into those palms, the extended arms, making them nice and strong, as well as pressing from the hips down to the heels as best that we can. And imagine if your arms and your legs are going downward with energy, your hips are lifting upwards. So we have these 3 points of energy direction. All right, we're usually here for about 5 breath cycles. So maybe another breath cycle or so, but you can always walk your dog as well. Make sure the shoulders are not turned in towards the ears. We want to rotate the shoulders away from the ears. And you can walk your dog. Bend one knee alternately, bend the other. And then here, we're going to inhale, roll the eyes towards the hands. And then exhale, bend the knees deeply if you need to, and walk the hands to the back of the mat. Maybe you can use your blocks to help you come back to your fold. And then notice where your feet are. If they were a little too wide, bring them a little closer together. You want them right under the hips. And here at our fold, we're fully exhaled, and then we can inhale. Lengthen through the back. We're looking down on our mat, and then fold once more. And then engage the core. We're dropping the bottom slowly. You can roll up once more or come up with a straight back, but inhale. Engaged core, pressing into the feet, lengthening through the legs, and at the top, reaching up with the hands, exhaling hands down heart center, and relax the shoulders, relax the elbows. And now we'll move into our second set. Inhale, standing weight to the left leg, right foot lifts. Exhale it down. And do your best, 1 breath cycle per step. Find that stability before you step forward. Slight lifting in the air as you exhale downwards. And remember, if you feel wobbly, that's all right. Go ahead and just come on back. You can engage the core to regain balance. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in mountain. Looking down at the fingertips. Let's go ahead and press into the hands. Watch them rise. At the top, separate the palms. Fully inhaled here. Engage the core. Hinge at the hips. Bend the knees if you need. Stick the tailbone back, and we float downwards. Come on down for your fold once more. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend the knees if you need. Come on down, hands to either side of the feet, and we're going to walk into that second high plank, and this time we'll stay long. So inhaling, shoulders over the wrists. Feel the toes, the balls of the feet right underneath the heels. We've got that lateral heel to toe alignment of energy, as well as your belly button sticking to your spine. And the arms are going down from the shoulders down to the wrists, as well as the heels, the feet. Energy from the heels down to the balls of the feet. And then we'll go ahead and lift up the hips. Exhale, bring the hips back to your dog. Notice how the shoulders feel. Upper arms should be somewhere, or ears, head should be somewhere in the upper arm region. And lengthen up to the tiptoes if you'd like. And then exhale, let the heels lower. We're only here for about 3 breath cycles this time. But if your hands are splayed, if your fingers are splayed, your hands are feeling that direction from the shoulders down. If not, the tailbone, all the way down the back, down the arms, down to the hands. And then you imagine that tailbone all the way down to the heels or the feet, another energy line downward. And all the while, the hips are lifting, the core is engaged. We'll go ahead and roll the eyes towards the hands once more. Come on out. Walk the hands with an exhale to the back of the mat, to your fold. Fully exhaled here. Let's inhale, half lift. And then fold once more. And then come on up, slow roll up. Either way, engage the core. Come on up. Inhaling, lifting the heart at the top of the inhale. Exhaling, hands down heart center. And finally, resting them at our side. You might find your heart beating a little faster than before. You should hopefully feel a little warmer. And then let's go ahead and just make any movement that feels good, release any residual activation of muscles. And you might find a little more lubricated joints, just a little easier bending, swiveling. And then we're going to turn around and start our balance. So balance is really important for everyday things. Just I have been challenged with cultivating more balance in the new year. So one thing that I've noticed is just how you're standing every day. When we talk about the center at our feet, and you can, at this point, roll from the heels to the toes and have the feet about hips distance apart. Just notice where your first mountain stance is. Imagine like a box. If you find that it's a little too wide, then you can bring it in a little bit, but we're just finding the stability at our feet. Just a little more than when you first came into class. Notice how it feels. Are you able to lengthen through the legs? Do you find a good stacking of the ankles under the knees, under the hips? And hopefully with our walking meditation, we have a little more stability and alignment so that our shoulders now are resting above our hips, our ears over our shoulders. So as we're doing that, feeling that stability, let's go ahead and inhale, the arms come up. And if you can only bring them at a tangent, that's okay. We're lifting up and we're reaching, and it's a practice. It may take a while to do that. If you have shoulder injuries, come out a little farther where you can maintain it with stability, with steadiness and ease. But inhale, we lift up. And then let's go ahead and exhale, hands gently down heart center, and just let them sweep away from you. Let them kind of dangle in the front. You can rock on the soles of your feet, you can bend your knees, and we'll go ahead and reset one more time in our mountain. A nice square box at the bottom. See if you're internally rotating or externally rotating. Are you feeling your knees and your toes are pointing in the same direction? And with that, you might feel a little bit of the tucking under of the tailbone. But you'll feel a little more of that muscle alignment and joint alignment as you move along. We'll go ahead and inhale the arms up once more. And at the top of the inhale, feel like you're pressing down into your feet. And we'll go ahead and grab your opposite wrist. My right hand is grabbing my left wrist, but it doesn't matter. Just use the other side when we go to the second set. So just holding onto it, you may feel better with your hand up or under. But all we're trying to do is lift up and press that side's leg. So my left hand is up, my left foot is nice and secure. Inhaling, we just bend until we stop. Keep that anchor of the left foot. Inhale all the way back up, and then exhale. Let the hands gently come down heart center and release. Again, you might just let them swing forward and back, forward and back. And then we'll go ahead, do the other side. Inhale up once more. Grab a hold of your opposite hand. Notice which way feels better to do that. And then anchor that side's foot. As we lift up, inhaling, all we're doing is just leaning the hand over. You're getting that stretch at the shoulder, at the armpit. Inhale all the way back up. Exhale, let the hands float down slowly, and then just let them release. Hopefully at the bottom, where your hands release, you might even feel your glutes slightly relax. Your transition of the body, pay attention to that as we move from our poses. Alrighty, so now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and open up into a low lunge. And I'm going to recommend starting with a chair, but you're welcome if you like to do a lunge without the chair, just free form with blocks even, you're welcome to do that. But I'd like to show you with the chair so that you have an idea of what you're looking for. So as we're coming here, And we're in our lunge. If we're in this orientation along the mat, you can find that your chair needs to be stable. If I don't have stability, I'll bring the first 2 feet and rest that on my mat, but I have this nice rug here, so I don't have to worry about the chair slipping. But the first thing is just wherever you are, the side that you sit on is going to be supported at that sit bone. So we're just going to go ahead and sit, and then let this leg kind of drop backwards. And as you can tell, there's this midline right about here. So my hip is still flexed. My knee is in front of that midline. But eventually, as we're going into the low lunge, we're trying to bring that knee so that it's straight down, if not just slightly extended, if you start to open up your hip a great deal. Now, one thing to do is to make sure that your front leg is your stability. That's your 90-degree angle that you're looking for at the knee and at the hip, and your sit bone here supported by the seat of the chair, while the other hip bone sort of free floats downward. You can use the back of the chair for stability as well. But we're looking for an upright torso. And all of this, it's just going to depend on how you're feeling. Maybe some of us are still here trying to find release with this leg, trying to sit upright in the spine, sitting upright in the pelvic bowl of your stability side of the right knee, the right hip. All of that is something that you're working on. We want to move towards keeping our support stable on the right side before we start exploring the openness of the left hip. So once we find that spot where we're stable with our right side and we can open up with the left hip, we just breathe for about 3 breath cycles here. Inhaling deeply, pause, and then the exhale deeply. Pause before you start the next inhale. And a gentle gaze off to the distance. And then when you're done with your 3 breaths, we'll come out by slightly bringing that left foot forward until it's stable once more, until you can find stability. Then we can go ahead and shift and come around to the other side, simply on the chair by moving to the other side and grabbing a hold of the back of the chairs, maintaining the stability of the opposite side now. And in this case, it's my left hip bone, my left leg is the support. And once that's stable there, left arm around the back of the chair, then I can focus on releasing in the right hip. And again, you might get the top of the foot back behind you as you're opening up more and more. Try to make sure that your free-floating hip is not impinged by the seat. You might need to make small adjustments. But all we're looking for is this ability to keep this stability side of your leg, your hip, your body in a gently active position so that you can then release through the right side. 3 breath cycles here. Imagine the ocean breath, filling the lungs with energy. You can think about scanning the body for any tightness. And on the exhale, engaging the core, that slow, steady exhale. Hopefully releasing any of that tightness, any of that uncomfortable musculature, joint issue on the right side of the leg. Maybe it's the top of the ankle, maybe it's the right hip. And then as we come out after our last inhale and exhale, we start to bring the foot back into alignment, bringing it from that extended position, if we went there, back to a more supportive position so we find balance. And then we can go ahead and turn around to the other side. We're going to do a second set. And you might find a noticeable difference between the two. And here, I'm not going to use the chair, but I'm going to give you that idea of where the midpoint is. So imagine the chair is sort of like that midpoint, but if you're not using the chair at all, it might be better to go with the blocks. So here, let me try using a block. But as we would stand there and start to get into that support position there, we would do the same here. You could imagine the blocks marking that midpoint area. And all we're going to do is step the right foot forward and then start to bring that weight into that foot. Feel the stability of the right sole of the foot, and then we start to walk that left foot back until we can get that 90-degree angle of the right knee. And you know, if you're not that open here, stay with the chair, work on the opening there. But if you're cultivating and practicing the openness here, then you're going to start to slowly drop that left knee. You can keep it bent for now, and we're focusing on bringing that front leg into the stability zone. And you should be pressing into that foot with enough activation that it supports your body. And then you can just focus on whether you need to bring that left foot back. You'll be on the ball of the foot, or you might be on the full flat of the heel. But you don't want to go too far back. You can focus on stability, and you're shifting. You're going to be coming out by slowly bringing weight back with the left leg until you have full support with the front. So you don't want to go too far back. But you can tell where that midline is, and you can practice with that. And as you're here without the chair, with the blocks, you're cultivating the left release of the hip of the release of the left hip, as well as the stability of your right hip and the right side of your body. Again, we want to have that good core engagement wherever we are to help with maintaining our stability. I think we've done more than 3 breaths here, which is what we would have done once we found that space. So let's go ahead and start coming out by shifting. You're going to press into that back foot to bring more of the weight to the standing front leg, and lengthen as you do that so that when you meet back up here, you're back in mountain, and adjust to your mountain once more. Now, if it feels safer for you, better for you to do the chair, use the chair, but eventually you might even be able to use that chair in transition. I'm going to shift to the other side, showing you how that might happen. So now, as we would do our second set on the other side, if you're just in the chair, go ahead and swivel like we did before, but you might be here, and if you're transitioning and you don't know whether or not to move from the chair to the mat, you can always do this. You can start off with the chair, and then bring yourself just slightly above the chair. Keep it there until you find you need it. And in case you do, you can always drop down if you find you need that transition support. But you can always transition with the chair underneath you as you're getting stronger in your hip. So again, we're finding that stability with the left foot, the left leg, that stabilizing 90-degree angle of the front foot before we bring that right foot too far back behind the midline. But if you're over the chair, you can always use the chair to help you lift your body back up to the front stability of that front leg. And again, we're bringing 3 breath cycles once we find that edge. And part of it also is keeping that upper body supported. All right, that's 3. So let's go ahead and start coming out. You're going to lengthen the front and the back leg. So bring up the front weight, center of support into that lengthy leg at the top. And then we'll come back up, finding hopefully our mountain once more. I see that I've pushed my mat back, so coming back up to the front. And we'll go ahead and make our way down to the mat, or you can stay in the chair if that feels better for you. So if you're in the chair, all we're doing at this point is meeting in our staff position for a figure 4 eventually. So using the chair, if you're sitting down, start off with your sits bones. They're at the edge of the chair. Now, you don't want to slide too far forward, especially if you have a lot of cushion on the chair. Stabilize yourself so that you can sit upright. You might have a 90-degree angle at the hips, but you're wanting to work on that 90-degree angle. If you're pitched forward or if it's really difficult and you have to lean back, just stabilize yourself until you can get to this 90-degree angle so you can sit upright in the torso. And then we'll lengthen through the legs. So here at the chair, we're in our staff position, sort of at this angle. So you can use the heels to give you a braking sensation so you don't slide. You can use the block as well, but that's too far from me. But just doing that and relaxing the feet upwards. You're in your staff position here. Now you might start with your right foot and your left foot coming inwards just a little bit, but see if you can lift your right foot. You may need to lift it up, but you want to externally rotate before you cross the ankle and land it. Eventually, though, we're trying to see if we can bring our left ankle to the left thigh. So as you're able to bring more of this leg in, you might just have to bend this left leg and then start to bring the right ankle upwards. You're tight in your hips and your knees, your ankles, you're going to be highly lifted. The knee will not be dropped down. Your figure four will be highly lifted for a while. So all we're doing is we're trying to find that space where if it's not capable to sit upright with our torso, then we've gone too far and we have to lean our torso, our back, curve our back like this, then we want to lower our leg. We're still opening up through our staff position to get to our figure four. So you might do this for a while. Now I'm going to go ahead and sit down on the floor. And while we're just in that position, breathe your 3 to 5 breath cycles here, wherever you can be. So in your figure four, while you're seated, we're just trying to bring the right ankle over and rest it somewhere there without leaning back here. So that might be a while as well. And when you're done with your 3 to 5 breath cycles, we're going to internally rotate as we lengthen our leg back to center, back to its original position. And if you're on the chair, go ahead and stabilize with the hands at the base of the seat, or if you have arms, but hopefully you don't. Armchairs, chair arms that is. And all we're doing is rotating that right leg as a whole, just slightly, just giving it a little bit of movement. You can tap out your knees as well. Point the toes, flex the feet, just give yourself some movement that helps you to release from the former pose. And then we'll move to the other side. In our staff position, once more, if you're on the chair, it's the same deal, but with the opposite leg. So inhaling, we might bring the opposite foot over a little bit, but we're going to bring that other leg over and see if we can cross at the ankles without losing the position of our upper body. So if you can just lift your foot too, that as well, but you may need to gently lift up your foot and place it over there. See how that feels at your hip. As you're starting to bring the ankle forward or up the leg, you're going to externally rotate. You're going to turn your hip out so that you can bend this leg, bend at the knee, and bring the ankle a little higher. And it just depends on where you can bring it. Don't force it. You might feel the tightness, and that's okay. That's an adaptable, discomfort pain, but you don't want to find any shooting pain or any electrical pain, anything like that. That's way too far. And then do what you can. If it's too much for you, you can always come out and just meet in our resting original pose of staff. But from that point where we're able to comfortably hold that position, we're hopefully breathing 3 to 5 breath cycles, slow and steady, like the ocean is just cradling you on each wave of the inhale and exhales. You may find that by the last exhale, something just opens up, something releases. And you're just conditioning the body so that your hips, your knees, your ankles are not as tight. Alrighty. Well, we're going to come out slowly, inhaling. We're turning in towards the midline with our hip as we extend that leg long. So you may need to assist your foot. You may have the strength to just lift it up and bring it back into center. Go ahead and give yourself any residual release of residual activation. You can tap out the knees. You can gently roll that leg as one unit. And then we'll go ahead and come on to our back, or you can sit in your chair and lean back. We're going to give ourselves a windshield wipe. Now, if you're down on the floor, go ahead and bring yourself all the way down to a bridge position. If you're in the chair, just lean back. Slide forward slightly so that you can lean back and bend the knees, and just gently roll with the feet in the same position, about hips distance apart, and you're just rolling to the edge of the feet from side to side. The knees, well, if you're really open, you might have knees dropping a little farther over to one side or the other. You might have one knee actually touch the opposite calf, the opposite leg's calf. But as you're doing the gentle left and right movement, it's nice and slow. And you're welcome at some point to stop at one side and breathe 3 breath cycles here. Just give yourself that ability to have that nice deep stretch. You may find the inside of your hip bone, that pelvic crest there. You might find that the tight muscles all along the waistline. You may even feel the muscles along your rib cage and your underarm pit of that side, feeling a nice stretch. And if you've been there for a lengthy time, you want to make sure that you have good stability. If you're on the mat, go ahead and make sure you roll the sacrum down. You might even need to assist with your hands to gently roll back to center. Whether you're in the chair or here, you can always use your hands to help you bring yourself back to center. And then we'll go ahead and give ourselves another lengthy windshield wipe, though, on the opposite side. So you can give yourself some quick ones with frequency, and then go ahead and just stay on that opposite side from the lengthy one we just had. So now I'm just windshield wiping to the left side for 3 to 5 breath cycles here. And here you just want to release. If you're up in the chair, you need to actively keep those muscles to keep you from falling out of the chair. But see if you can release in the hips, in the inner thighs, around the knees. Each inhale deeply, bringing energy into hopefully every part of your body that you can think of. And that slow exhale, maybe something nice and tight will loosen. Maybe some achiness will just disappear. We'll bring the knees, the sacrum, if you're in the bridge position, but both hips, both come back to center with an inhale. And then we'll go ahead and just relax. At this point, if you can come down to the mat, we're just going to lengthen through the legs. If you're still in the chair and would like to stay in the chair, then just try to lengthen like in a staff once more. Just lengthen the legs and feel upright and supported. I'm going to check the time. All right, we're moving into our Shavasana stage now so that we can wake up with the sound of the 3 bells for our last portion of the class, which is our breath exercise. But as we move into our Shavasana, just notice how the body is feeling right now with the legs and arms nice and long. The toes could be pointed towards the corners of the mat. You might just let them roll outward. If you feel that there's a compression at the lower back, you might need to roll up a blanket. You might need to have a rolled towel underneath that section there. But give yourself about 3 to 5 breath cycles to move into your perfect version of Shavasana. You might have something under the lower back. You might have something under your knees. Just depends on how your body is. You might be able to have your body completely flat. But once you're there, make sure your palms are facing upwards if that's okay for your shoulders so that you can externally rotate those shoulders. Give yourself an opening, and then let the belly become soft. Let the tongue release from the roof of the mouth, and slowly, gently lower the eyes, the eyelids. If you want to close the eyes completely, you're welcome to, or just have that soft gaze. In Shavasana, you're just allowing your body to respond to the day's practice. So just notice anything that you're feeling. If something comes to mind that doesn't have to do with your practice, let that go. And then eventually, just notice the breath. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. I will sit up to mind the time. bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to your breath. As you reconnect to the body once more, make any movements. You can gently wiggle the toes, your fingers. You can roll your wrists, roll your ankles, roll on your hips if that feels good. But eventually making our way to an upright seated position, either in staff or with your legs in a crisscross applesauce position. One leg out in front of the other if it feels good, or you can also meet in hero in a seiza position if that's not too difficult for you. If you have a rolled up blanket, you can always sit with it underneath your sits bones like so, and that'll help as you transition to a hero position. You can always have it a little higher up towards the knees. If you're sitting down and you have really tight hips, your knees will be very high up, like mine. And so you may need to find that elevation at the tailbone, at the hips, like so. And as you're crossing your legs, just finding where you can place them. You might find it helpful to bring a block to help support the knees at either side. And eventually all you're trying to do is open up through the hips and the knees if you're sitting in crisscross applesauce. That's kind of hard, but it can work as well. You're hopefully sitting up in a position, though, where your spine is sitting straight into your pelvic bowl. So I can do that in my hero pose. So we can end class with our alternate nostril breathing. So we want to sit upright. We want the torso just sitting right above the pelvic bowl, nice and supported. And if you're in a crisscross applesauce position, you would just have one leg out in front of the other. Alrighty, and so here, for our alternate nostril breathing, it's just to bring balance. As we use our breath of fire to bring warmth to the body, our alternate nostril breathing will help bring balance. So your hands, you don't have to do a mudra if you don't want to, but it's just something extra if you need, if you'd like. Bringing the left hand to chin mudra, that's an index and thumb, just touching so that you can rest the back of the hand on your left thigh. Your right hand, if it's available to you, bring the first two fingers down to the mount of the thumb. You'll be closing your right nostril with your right thumb, left nostril with the tip of that ring finger. If this is too awkward, which it is sometimes for me, especially if you have arthritis in the hands, just bring the two fingers to the brow bone. You can always close the right nostril with the right thumb and the knuckle of the ring finger in this position. And all we're doing is a nice deep breath in. Then we'll close the right nostril with the right thumb and exhale through the left. After all that air is gone, engage the core, belly button to the spine. Inhale through that same nostril. Fill up the lungs all the way at the top of the inhale. Maybe the crown of the head lifts. Close the left nostril. Exhale through the right. And that slow Ujjayi breath to help you exhale. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Last round. Inhale through the left. close. Exhale through the right. We'll go ahead and release the right hand. Release the mudras. Let the breath return to its natural state. And bring the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC Community Room. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. Yeah.